Welcome to San Mateo County Today. Conversations with government leaders throughout San Mateo County. Here's your host, Linda Morrissey.
Hi, welcome to San Mateo County Today. Our guest today is Sandie Arnott. She's the San Mateo County Treasurer Tax Collector. Welcome to the program.
Thanks for having me.
We're very happy to have you here today to learn a little bit more about probably one of our favorite topics, money, and one of our not so favorite topics, taxes.
Correct.
Okay.
Correct.
So I understand now, after doing some research, that you are actually responsible for so much more than collecting taxes. There are actually 3 departments in the county that you are responsible for. Mm-hmm. So can you tell our viewers, explain those 3 departments and what they actually are responsible for doing?
Sure, absolutely. So first and foremost, my responsibility is safeguarding taxpayer dollars. Mm-hmm. So within the capacity of treasurer, the Treasurer's Department serves as the county bank. So any department that takes in money must deposit it with the treasurer. We also receive revenue payments, tax payments obviously. We receive deposits from cities and special districts. We receive school bond monies. And all of these together are placed in what's called a county pool. Mm-hmm. County pool currently stands at about $4 billion. My responsibility is to invest those funds, always with a focus on safety, liquidity, and yield in that order. And on top of that, I'm also the bank liaison, so any departments that need banking services to conduct their business would go through my department, and we will work with them to ensure that they have those services in place. And I'm also the paying agent for over 100 school district bonds with a value of about $3.2 billion. On the tax collector side, I'm tasked with billing 217,000 parcel owners and collecting $1.8 billion in property taxes. And I'm very proud to say that San Mateo County is one of the top 2 counties in the state with a delinquency rate of less than 1%. That's huge. So on the revenue services side, that's kind of our collection agency wing. So any debt that's due to the county is collected by revenue services. For the past 2-3 years, they have collected in excess of $17 million, mm-hmm. which if you consider the state of the economy over the past, that period of time, that's excellent. I'm very fortunate to oversee 60 staff who are very dedicated and very hardworking, so I'm very lucky in that respect.
Mm-hmm. So that covers all 3 departments.
It does.
So what do you attribute that low delinquency rate to?
Good collection efforts. And the thing is that in San Mateo County, people don't want to lose their property. I mean, once you have property in San Mateo County, your intention is never to lose it and have to go elsewhere. So even the taxpayers that do become delinquent, they make sure that they pay off long before I have the ability to seize that property, which is 5 years of being in delinquency before I can seize that property and sell it to auction. Never happens. In 25 years, it's only occurred twice, and for one situation, the taxpayer actually welcomed our auctioning off his property because he was not having a very easy time of getting rid of it. So he was pleased that we auctioned it for him, we received the taxes, and then he had some excess earnings come out of it. So he was quite the happy camper. But
I saw several references to your responsibilities around auctioning. Is that just related to properties, or can you tell me a little bit about that whole process?
Well, sure. Again, the tax collector has the ability to seize property if the property is in delinquency for 5 years. And we're now doing online auctions. Back in the day, it used to be where you actually went to a room and all these people were there and you had the paddles. And exactly. But now it's everything is online. That's really the easiest way to go. So we download all of the properties that are up for auction, give it to this bid for assets company who places it on a website, and people place their auction bids there and get the property. But I do want to make it very clear that we don't just seize the property and put it on the auction block. We spend countless hours working with these taxpayers to see what can we do to help you keep your property, because there are some instances where people need to have plans developed to help them keep it, and we will do everything that we possibly can before we actually just say, this is our only choice.
Yeah, that's good to know, and it sounds like it doesn't happen very often.
No, it does not.
That's good. So I'd like to learn a little bit about your background. I know that you're the first woman to be elected to this position, so congratulations. That's
Thank
quite
you.
an achievement. So tell us a little bit about your path to getting to this office.
Well, it's very interesting. This was never part of my goal. But life is funny. It has a lot of little twists and turns. But 25 years ago, I was hired by my predecessor, Lee Buffington, as his executive assistant. And I was very fortunate because Lee was one of those guys who just wanted to show me everything to do with treasury management and tax collection. And he was always very supportive of my eagerness to grow within the department. And I really do appreciate that. And about 2000, well, let's see, I went through 3 promotions. In 2004, I became the Deputy Treasurer Tax Collector. And in 2008-9, when I was running for the position, because Lee was having some health issues, our Assistant Tax Collector retired, and then Lee had to take a leave of absence for health reasons. And so I then became, well, I was already the Deputy Treasurer Tax Collector. I was the Interim Assistant Tax Collector because we hadn't filled that position. And then I was the Interim Treasurer Tax Collector. I was wearing all 3 hats in 2009. So really, by the time I was elected and took office in January of 2010, I think I was pretty seasoned and pretty confident about my ability to be able to handle the office without a problem. So that's how I got there. I never planned to be Treasurer Tax Collector. Lee and I've told this story before, we had a pact that we were both going to leave at the same time. The end of 2014 would have been the end of his term, and I would have had 25 years with the county, which I thought was a nice round number, and we were going to make that exit together. But it just didn't pan out that way. And like I said, you know, life has twists and turns, and here I am, and I'm very fortunate and very happy to be in the position I'm in.
Oh, great. Okay. So I know that there are other departments in the county that deal with money. So I'd like to learn a little bit more about how your departments interface with those other departments, like the Controller's Office, the Tax Assessor's Office. You know, what's that relationship, and how do you work with them?
Sure. So overall, the way it works is that the assessor is responsible for valuation of property. So
that's not you.
It's not me. It's not me. It's the assessor. And so he assesses properties and places those valuations into our property tax system, or extension of the tax roll. And the controller is responsible for placing all the special assessments on the tax bill. So sewage and parcel taxes and school bond assessments, those are all placed on the tax roll by the controller. As tax collector, I come along and I kind of take all that information, place it on a bill, send it out, and collect it. So that's kind of how the process works. In my dealings with the 2 offices, I probably deal most with the controller's office because there is a definite separation of duty in that as treasurer, I'm responsible for collecting the monies, and the controller is responsible for dispersing them. I do not do both. In fact, I have to request approval from the controller if I'm requested to wire funds somewhere. It has to be approved by the controller.
Is that by design, sort of a check and balance?
Exactly, exactly. And also there are codes that apply to that as well. My cashiering area must balance to the controller daily, to the controller's financial accounting system. The controller audits my cashiering area quarterly, and they also audit our investment area on an annual basis. So that's pretty much how I work with them. Also with regards to school bonds, I work with the controller's office because accounts have to be set up for the funds that are coming in, and I need to have that information because as paying agent, I need to know what account to use when I'm making payments on them. So that's kind of how I work with both of them.
Okay, great. What do you think are some of the biggest misconceptions that taxpayers have about how their tax dollars are used or managed?
Well, there are many misconceptions out there. I can't say that I have much concern that there's a lot of misconceptions with how the monies are managed. I mean, we do provide the pie chart that tells you where your tax dollars go, which is primarily 44% to schools and 22% to the county and cities and special districts and what have you. But I find that the biggest misconception out there, oddly enough, is that there are so many taxpayers that believe that they are not under Prop 13. I have people make statements to me all the time that, I'm paying, just throw figures out. I'm paying $5,000 in property taxes, but my next door neighbor has the same exact house, and he's only paying $1,000 a year. He's under Prop 13. I'm not. Well, no, everyone is under Prop 13. That has never gone away. The thing is that it's all relevant to when you purchased your home and what you purchased it for. Because certainly back in 1978, you could easily purchase a home for under $100,000, or even at $100,000, you're talking the Prop 13 1% of that purchase price as your tax base. Yes, it's $1,000 initial tax base for that neighbor. Well, if you purchase your house anytime after that, 10, 20, 30, 40 years later, as the cost of houses kept rising, you buy that same house today, it's probably going for $800,000. Now you have that 1% tax base of $8,000. Yes, there's a huge discrepancy between them, but again, it's not that you're not under Prop 13, it's just all relevant to when you bought that home and what you paid for it.
Okay, when property values fluctuate, do you get a lot of people that are looking to try and get their tax base changed?
Oh, absolutely. And that's where, again, people think that I handle the valuations because they see their tax bill and they're saying, well, wait a minute, I don't think that my house is worth that much. And so I direct them to our church very happily.
Okay. Okay. I was looking at your department's websites, and there's a lot of good information there. You mentioned the pie chart that explains how the tax payments are divided up. And there's also, I noticed you have a live chat support. I don't know how new that's been, or how long we've had that in place. Could you talk a little bit about that and how residents can get questions answered via that?
Sure. So live chat came into play about 2 years ago. That is when we went live with it. And I was very excited about having that put in because, you'd make like airline reservations or whatever, and there was always you have questions, and little face would pop up. And so I went to my assistant tax collector, Robin, and said, how could we do something like that? And she's fabulous. She just kind of like runs with the ball and says, oh, this is what I'm going to do. So we implemented live chat. And basically what it is anyone who's on our website who perhaps is trying to pay their property tax and is having a little bit of problem or has some questions can hit the live chat button. It's in the upper right-hand corner of tax collector's website. And what it does is it brings up a dialog box, and it'll ask you for your name and your email address, your parcel number, and then what's your issue, what's your question. And then it allows that dialog box to go directly to one of my staff members live, Monday through Friday, 8 to 5. And that staff member will walk that customer through the process step by step until they're assured that the customer is satisfied, and the other part to that is that we then retain that dialogue and keep it with the parcel number, so that in the event that the taxpayer calls us again and said, I had this chat and kind of want to review it again, excuse me, we have that information available to us. Likewise, the customer can also download that dialog box and keep it for future reference in case they say, okay, I'm doing this again, how did it go last time? And they would have it. So very proud of that feature, and we also did earn the County 2013 STARS Award for customer service on that. We've served about 10,000 people just on Chatline alone. Within the tax collector's website, there are several forms that can be downloaded: transient occupancy tax, a new vehicle rental form, business address changes. They can download penalty appeal forms. They can learn about any of the taxes that are out there and pay them as well. Okay.
Okay. We need to take a short break right now, but I'd like to come back and learn more about what's available on the website.
Okay.
We'll be back shortly. Hi, welcome back to San Mateo County Today. We're talking with Sandie Arnott, our San Mateo County Treasurer Tax Collector. And we were talking about your websites a little bit and the types of services that people can make use of there and other information. So can you tell us a little bit more about what they can go to the websites to find that wasn't always there in the past?
Sure. So I had started off with the tax collector's website, and so there still are a couple other features to it. One that's very important, I think, to our taxpayers is that there is an eGov delivery link, and what that will provide is the ability for taxpayers to receive email reminders when their property taxes are due. which we were asked for that all the time. And they can also get information on when we are conducting a property tax sale auction. Additionally, they can also tap into different departments within the county to sign up for service information from them as well. So that's a really good link within that that website. And
it's not automatic. That's like an opt-in. I can request to get sent those notices.
You just tap it. It takes you to a section, and then you let them know what it is that you want, what services you want provided. Also, if you've just purchased a home, there's a supplemental calculator that's on that website. So I don't know if you know what a supplemental bill is, but when you purchase a home, you've got the secure tax bill that comes in that is based on the previous value of the property. And then there's a supplemental bill that is that difference between what the value of the property was and what it is today, and that's a supplemental tax. And a lot of people like to know ahead of time, what am I looking at here? So we offer that the calculator where you can get on, plunk in some information, and it'll give you a pretty good idea as to what that supplemental fee will be.
Secured versus unsecured. Can you just give us a quick definition?
Secured is anything that's attached to the ground. So your home is secured property. Unsecured are boats and trailers and business equipment, anything that can be moved. And both of them can be paid online. On the Treasurer's website, it's mainly investment oriented. So you can find my investment policy, our monthly investment reports, audits, compliance. You'll find information on our Treasury Oversight Committee, agendas, minutes. And recently I added a little link on there because someone asked me about the CAFR, which is the comprehensive audited financial report that the controller puts together. And they said, well, yeah, I went on your website and I couldn't find it. I said, well, that's because it's a controller function. And so he said, well, it sure would have been nice if I had known that when I went on there. So I went back to the office and said, what would it take to put a link on our treasurer's website that'll take them to the CAFR and the PAFR? Not a problem at all. By the end of the day, it was in there. So that's on the treasurer's website also. So it's quite a bit of information that's on there if someone takes the time to get on there, take a look around. And there's also just always the ability for anyone to contact us, which I welcome when I have taxpayers giving me a call and providing suggestions and what have you, because I can only improve my services if I know what services it is that you're looking for. And certainly if it's feasible, workable, I appreciate that.
Okay, great. So tell us about, of those three departments, some of the major accomplishments that you're most proud of.
I actually have several accomplishments over my first term, but I will tell you about some of the recent ones and the ones that I'm complimented most on. And probably the first one would be the remote locations. We opened an office in South San Francisco, which is over by the old county courthouse on Mission Road in the probation department. That's open year-round for taxpayers to make tax payments and also pay revenue services bills. In Half Moon Bay, I opened one in the Sheriff's Substation on Kelly Street, which is open the first 10 days of December, the first 10 days of April. And so really providing a service to our Coast Side and North County residents who love to come in and pay in person. And now they don't have to make that trek all the way to Redwood City. And I know, coming from North County where I live, that's a 35-mile round trip. So it's also part of a green effort to kind of cut down on the carbon of driving over there. So along with that, this year on our tax bill on the back of our first stub and second stub, we've added QR codes so that if someone wants to go to one of those locations, not quite sure how to get there, they can use their smartphone. The QR code will give them the directions to get there. We've also included within our tax bills this year a little informational insert that we work with other counties, other departments in the county who want to send out some information, such as on animal licensing or healthcare services or child support. A little insert that we place in there, and I think that's been very, very successful. The other thing that was really huge for us is lockbox services, and what that is tax bills used to come to my office directly, and staff would have trays and trays and trays of mail that they had to open and process. And what that did was it disallowed them to provide the customer service that was necessary for people coming in, people calling in, because they had to get through this mail and open it and get it processed. So we went to lockbox services, which is all of the tax bills are now mailed to our county bank, Union Bank, and they open it and process it and get it into our account that day. And what that's done is it's freed up that time for my staff to now focus on what is our main focus in the office, which is customer service. So you don't have those long queues on the phone. People can come in, we're right there, and it's also allowed us to man the chat line quite well. So
good news.
Yes.
It's I see a nice trend of taking advantage of technology, but still being able to offer the person, the one-to-one customer service.
Exactly.
That's great.
Exactly.
Any other accomplishments?
Well, I think I mentioned the size of our pool is $4 billion. We are one of the top counties in the state for our earnings rate, which this past quarter was 81 basis points. We don't.
What does that mean, 81 basis points?
Well, a basis point is 1/100%. So
Okay.
you're 0.81 instead of 1%, which nowadays is really fabulous. We outperform the state's fund. So we're doing quite well with that. We don't chase yield, but our assistant treasurer does do a very, very good job of investing our funds. So very, very proud of that. Again, I mentioned about revenue services and their accomplishments in collecting well over their set goal of $15 million by collecting $17 million annually. So yeah, that's great.
And the customer service award for the chat site.
Oh, yeah.
That's great. Okay. What about projects coming up in the future?
Well, we do have two very, very large projects. One that is I'm almost completed with. I'm so excited. It's been about 2 years, and I had hoped to implement it a year ago, but that's okay. Sometimes it's better to not rush things. So this is centralized cashiering. And basically what that will be is, currently if you come to the county and you need to pay your taxes and you need to make a payment on your hospital bill and you have a traffic fine, you typically will go to those different departments, or you'll go online and do 3 different transactions. So what centralized cashiering will allow you to do is to get on the website and actually do kind of a shopping cart, one-stop shopping thing, where you can plunk in your parcel number and it'll bring up your property tax and what you owe, and you can put that in the shopping cart, and you can put in your hospital account number, see how much you owe, decide what you want to pay, put that in the shopping cart, so on and so forth. And then, just like if you're making a purchase online, you check out and you pay for it in whatever manner you want. So we will go live with that in June with a pilot program involving Health Services and Department of Public Works after running it through Revenue Services and Taxes. And then hopefully we'll go online with any other department that wants to be a part of that in January of 2016. So I'm very excited for that, to just make it easier for our customers so that they're not running all over or having to do several transactions. They can do it all at one time. So excited about that. And then the second project is huge. It's going to span probably 4 to 5 years. We've already been working on it now for about a year. And that is where we are replacing our property tax system. It's an old legacy system. Currently the way it works is the assessor has his own system and the controller and I share a system. Both very, very old, both very, very expensive to maintain. And the thing is that with technology being what it is, everyone wants to take their smartphone, click something, get how much they owe, pay it, be done with it. Our system could never accommodate those kinds of requests. So really, it's time for us to move on to a system that will keep up with growing technology, not just for what it is now, but going forward as well. And but the trick of it is that each of our offices have very, very unique requirements mandated by law and code. So we really have to be very diligent and careful about how we go about looking to see if there's something out there that can accommodate our needs, for one, and ensuring that all of those needs are going to be met and then some. So it's going to be tricky, and the hope is that we can find one system that will allow us to do that, but yet realizing that there is always that possibility that we won't be able to find one, and we may need to go 3 different systems, or maybe 2. But we are underway. We have a contractor who's been going through and conducting a needs requirement for us to see what is required, so that it can be developed to put our RFP together. So again, that's going to be like 4 or 5 years. I'm hoping it's more 4 than 5, but really we can't rush that. We really have to take our time with it. But once it's in place, it'll be just such a a cost savings to the taxpayers. So there's no more redundancies of entering information in one system and then also the other, but also just what we can provide as far as like simplicity of being able to find your bill and pay it, and just that whole technology aspect of it.
Yeah. Are there other government agencies or counties out there that have already established this as a model you can look at, or is this really new territory?
Actually, there are several counties in the state that are looking to embark on a new property tax system. Currently, Riverside is going through a change, and it's been quite the long project.
Yeah.
It's already been, I think, 7 years that Riverside has been on it. But all eyes, believe me, are on Riverside for the success value of it, because certainly if they are successful with it, I think there's going to be this big queue. There already is a queue of counties that are wanting to get on board too, but you see someone else work through the pros and cons of it, and we're all on the sides just kind of taking notes, so that when we get to that point, if in fact that system is the one that's going to work for everyone, we're ready to go and just kind of like bypassing a lot of the issues that Riverside has gone through.
Right, leverage their knowledge.
Yes,
That'd be great.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Any other projects coming up?
Those are.
Do you need any more projects?
That's enough for right now. But anything. Always looking forward to trying to improve services somewhere. But the move on to a new property tax system is really going to be taking up a lot of our time.
That sounds huge. Great. Okay, I just have one last question for you, and then we'll wrap it up. So I've always been curious, why do I write my property tax checks out to you personally instead of the tax department or the county, tax collector? Why do we do that?
It's actually a very, very old law. Back from the days when the tax collector would go house to house collecting taxes.
Okay.
It's basically Revenue and Taxation Code 2611.6, which says that within the body of your property tax bill, it must provide the taxpayer with directions of how to pay that, and it must be to the tax collector with my address. I do have a lot of taxpayers who will say, I'm really just not that comfortable writing such a large check to an individual. Believe me, I don't have a problem at all with someone making their check payable to San Mateo County Tax Collector or SMC Tax Collector. If they don't want to put my name on it, it's okay. I'm still going to take your check and apply it, to your parcel. No worries there. So it is one of those codes that you really don't. It isn't so black and white that you can't change it up a bit.
Got it.
But unfortunately, we've tried to eliminate it before and just have not been very successful at it.
I see. I don't have a problem with it. I was just curious.
Yeah.
I want to thank you so much for joining us today. I have learned so much, and
glad.
I know our viewers have too. So thank you. I hope we can have you back again in the future. It'd be wonderful.
Well, thank you. And I really want to thank you for your time and for Penn TV, because this really enhances my outreach to the citizens of this county to let them know exactly what it is that I am doing on their behalf. So I appreciate the opportunity. Thank you very much for having me.
You're very welcome. Thanks for joining us today, and we'll see you next time on San Mateo County Today.